Commander, it's from headquarters. The command is as follows. Enter its enemy area, rescue Super Joe while staying in touch with agents. There are many agents in Area 1 now. First, go see them. We rely on you. Yeah, that's absolutely not running correctly. This game is hard. It is absolutely hard. It could be even harder if it's not working. Is that really? So odd.
Architecturally significant. Zoe, you're very pretty. Your hair smells great. You don't know the first thing about architecture. He's techno-based car. Why? I'm a professor, okay? I teach this stuff at one of the best colleges in the country. I could out of your place of non-employment and lecture you about how your little protest is a misguided waste of time. Except, I just did.
Will it work on this screen? I will get this going. I guess I have to use this scene. There we go. Let's go. Sorry. No need animated background with overlay. I'm gonna have to get a static one, it looks like. This laptop is not handling this very well, even with just a Nintendo game. Okay, let's get started. Yatta! Yeah, it's running much better. This is MA1. I've been waiting for you. Many of our agents have already infiltrated the sectors. You will be traveling. To contact them, you must find a communication room. Your success depends on being in touch. You should be able to wiretap and intercept important information. Ignore all dangers and proceed to the open door. We'll contact you later. It's easy to say to ignore all dangers for you. You're not even here. I'm the one putting my life on the line for this crap. Okay. Done. He almost got me. Woo. Okay. Get up, get up. There we go. Whee! What's up, little guy? Area 4 is an arsenal. Maybe you can find a weapon we can use. Fair enough. Area 4 possibly has a weapon. That's good to know. Whee! Here we go. And unfortunately, this is going to be what you see for probably about 5 minutes. I've got to grind up a couple of hit points. Blech. Oh, missed him. So if anybody wants to keep count, I need a grand total of 150 of these. Will get me to about 6 hit points. Ah, don't shoot me, running into me, not shooting me, just being a butt. There we go. Blam. Blam, blam. Oops. Ooh! Oh, hit me with that crap. Run! I smoked too much for all that counting. Oh, okay. Yeah, I understand. I'm not actually paying attention. I just happen to know that 300 gets you to the max. That's somewhere around 100 to 150. That gets me to my 6. Ow. Which is fine, as long as I don't get hit again, I won't die. Because every time you get your health increased, it also heals you. Yeah, I like that. Get him. This is actually the best place in the entire game to grind this out. You get all these one-hit enemies. They always drop one of these little bullet items, capsules. They just parachute in. I've read on the Famicom Disk System version of this. There we go. These guys don't parachute underground, because, you know, why the hell would they be able to parachute underground?
We're going back to prison.
Oh no! Baby's going to baby jail. I mean, playpen.
Pacifier.
And whee!
What else?
Bam, bam. Oh god! Don't. I see flashy lights. Oh, usually when they're off screen, they unspawn. Despawn. There we go. Da, 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 da. They're not parachuting underground, they're doing it through the ground. Fair enough. Yeah, but no, the Japanese were like, no, we're not going to do that. They only come out the door, so grinding takes longer. Blam, blam, blam. That's right. Yeah, we're at 6 now. See, it doesn't take that long, but that very last one takes 300. So we're gonna not worry about getting my 8th hit point. Do do do. Like honestly, there's a good chance that I will be able to go through the entire game. Oh, there's a chance. I wouldn't say a good chance. Ow. There's a chance that I could go through the entire game without getting that 8th hit point. Yeah. So many of them, though. Ow! Okay, now it's starting to get scary. I got 2 hits left. No way, bud. Oh god, no, 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 no! Oh! Yes, I did. Hold on one second. I know. Find me a passy, please.
There's two in there.
Oh, he's not holding one. Do 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 do. Whee! Firing Randy, good episode, yeah. Yeah, it is. Oh, one up? Hell yeah. Alright, I'm a little less upset about dying. Oh, no. Can't do that. Blam. 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 Ugh. Honey, can you turn that down? I wasn't paying attention. Do I have 7 hit points? There we go. So you think you can destroy the main system? You have no chance. There we go. Blam, blam, blam. Looks like I had a pretty good chance there. Woo! Daddy won, daddy won, Oh, good times, good times. Okay, please instruct. What? No. That way. Okay. Here you go, bud. All right. Two, three, four, five, six, seven. Yeah, I got all of them. What are you doing here? I'll take care of you. Super Joe? I'm sorry, but I don't know anyone named Super Joe. Super Joe was the hero from Commando, if anyone remembers that game. Yeah, this is actually the sequel, Bionic Commando. Great Super Joe, the guy who single-handedly took on an entire army, was captured. And we're here to go rescue him. There's some flare bombs. You'll need them in Area 4. Push start button to use them. Get him. Oh, I almost missed it. Almost got it. There we go. Should be dying, restart your count. No, dying did not restart my count, but I am at 7 hit points. Check it. I'm gonna head into this neutral zone here. And then here's something right here. This right here. Just end the entire war. But because I'm in a neutral zone, it's not allowed. Here's the leader of the Imperial Force. Make way for Mr. Kilt. The battalion, a dog of the Federation. All teach them not to mess around with us. If they don't want to shorten their lives, they'd better be quiet. You want to shoot him. What's in here now? Oh, okay. Another one up. Oh. Wrong button. Whee! Whee! Oh no! What? What is this? What is this? I can't get through! Oh my god! Oh my god! I can't get through! What do I do? I'm just gonna... Oh, set off the alarm. All the neutral soldiers are after me now. Oh, no, get back in there. Why does he sound Canadian? I don't know, because that's what I decided. I mean, to be fair, if you know the original Famicom version of this, they're let's say Dutch. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, please instruct us. If you hold start and press A and B, you can exit an area without having to go all the way to the exit of the stage. Or game overing. Speaking of game overing, I want some continues. So I'm hitting up this truck. Hey, look! Stages that are remnants of the original Commando. There we go. Now we're going to go over here. Welcome, there's some B communicator inside, yeah. There we go. Get the heck out of here, you nerd! I know! You silly. I don't want to deal with that. Those rooms suck. Oh, stupid robo. You know what? Just gonna exit. Why does this sound Canadians? Okay, we're gonna go over here. This area 5, I don't... There we go. There we go. I know. Yeah, whatever. Darn it. And that is how we avoid that guy's bullets. And then all you really need to do is go in the door for the checkpoint, and it unlocks the next area of the stage. Basically, the point of this part is to just ascend as quick. Oh god! Ascend as quick as possible. Without... God. Without effing up like I seem to be doing right now. So...
Is that how we feel about it?
There we go. Running. I want whatever that is. Gimme. Oh, it's just a heal. That's fine. Oh, God. There we go. Oh, I can't get in there. Ah, I made it. Yeah. Oh, God. And again, we just go inside, step out, checkpoint activates the rest of the stage. Oh. It's fine. No! That was bad. That was almost very bad. There we go, I made it. Woo! We have found an intruder. We are going to attack. Yep. Totally terrified of this thing, let me tell you. And there we go. That's 2 stages done. That deserves a drink. Oh look, I got a rocket launcher. Strongest weapon in the game. I think it was area 2 goes next, or was it 6? I don't remember. We'll find out here in a moment. Rocket launcher. Bam! Look at that. Shoots through everybody. There we go. And here we go. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, yep, this is it. Oh, yeah. Oh, fudge, I got blowed up. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no, I'm stuck. Runs! There we go. You have to have a wide cannon and rocket launcher. Go towards. Okay, if you have wide cannon, we'll go to areas 3 and 6. Alright, so after I leave here, I'll hit up 3. Whee! Whee! And then we go and catch this one. And there we are. Boss room. Attack! Let's show the second platoon can do. Near. Thank you, Jesus. All I have to do is shoot it without getting hit. 3 shots. Should take 3 shots with a rocket launcher. Is it not? Alright, so it said go to area 3 and 6. When did I get the cross? Whatever. I'm not going to say no, because that saves me an extra hit point. First shot, other than lasers. Fudge. Hate this part. Run. Nope. Before I die, I'm leaving. Oh man. Whee! Whee! Oh. Whee! Run. Grab! Get me out of there. Okay. Whew. Whoa. Oh!
Where do you think you're going, little boy? Oh, okay.
Run. Yes, made it inside. How far do I go down? That's right, this way. Freaking those plants, the man-eating plants, when they come up, they're one hit, they will get me. Like, I walk to the outside of it, that hurts, but if it snaps up on me, it's over. It's very terrible. Terrible? Terrifyingly terrible. Okay, we're going to open the door of the boss's room. Alright. Save me some trouble, won't you? Whee! Oop. Okay. Oh, I died. That was not good. What we got? Okay. Oh, okay. I have, wow, 18 more. I get my next hit point. Alright, let's see if I can do this. Whee! 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 Ooh, I did it that time. Man. We have an intruder! We're going to attack! Blam! Oh no, one shot! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 shots. Area 3 clear. Got rapid fire device. Okay. Go to Area 6. Whoa. How are we doing this? Okay. Blam. Oh man, this is the fun part. Whee! Okay.
No.
Okay. Oh God. Whee! Whee! Well, that was a death. And I just wasted my freaking healing item. Okay, let's try that again. Oh God. There we go. Got that one up. Oh, I did it again. Darn it. 5 more. 5 more to get my hit point. Couldn't just hold on to it, huh? Yeah, all 8 hit points. Whee! 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 Oh, I made it! Yes! Oh man, this is definitely not the best.
Where are you going? What are you doing?
Oh. Oops. Luckily, I have a couple of continues. I'll come back to this. I cannot let you through without a permit. That's right. That's what I'm doing at 6. I need that permit. God. Catch that truck. There we go. There we go. Yeah, these little things right here, those are the continues. Really difficult platforming. Yep. 300 of 300. Whee! Ah, I made it! Woo! Okay. Okay, yep, just like I remember, this game is hard. Yeah. It's the platforming. I'm about to game over again. Oh god! I have to get through here because the permit's in this stage. So I'm gonna be stuck here for a moment, it looks like. So, yeah, sorry. Troubles of having a newborn, sometimes they get upset. Troubles of having an infant, sometimes they get upset. Pretty much the same freaking animal. Ow!
Not. You're born in 0 and 3 months. It's almost 8 months.
Ah, I got the one up again. It's a rip Moogle! Poor Moogle! Blech, blech.
Oh.
Thanks for the good luck, buddy! I appreciate it. Because I've been having some trouble with this crap. Oh, it is so not cool. Alright, missed that one. Ugh. Whee! 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 Whoa! Oh! Oh, I saved it and threw myself away! Oh my god! Thanks again for the good luck, Greasy Nits. That was, much appreciated. Even though I immediately wasted it. What? You son of a me. Get in there. Get in there. Bling! Blam. Ow. Whee! Bouncy. Up. Shoot. Man, I am just effing this all up, huh? Oh. Oh, stop doing the thing. Wow. That was insane. You should see all the cool platforming right at the... Oh, stupid robot. I honestly have no idea why I did that. I'm on my last life. Right? Yeah, I'm on my last life. Ba-ba-ba? Way? No way. Whee! Bouncy. There we go. Everyone's calmed down again. For a few minutes at least. Whee! Bouncy. I had to clip you biffing that last one. Yeah, that's fine, dude. I understand. I'm, getting a bit frustrated with this and might want to just take the L. Just to get my lives back. Bouncy. Up. Shoot the gun! Phew! Yeah. Whee! Bouncy. Up. Shoot. Remote control guy with his drones. Yeah. They had the idea of drones since the 80s. There we go. Oof. Couldn't get the button quick enough. Wow. Be chasing a truck here before too much longer. What? There we go. Woo. Oh, God. Would you believe there was a time that I could do this? There we go. Without having to give it a second thought. Oh, my meat. Get up there. I think this is as far as I ever actually made it on the Nintendo for like the first 3 months of owning this game. Bouncy and up. It was a terrible roadblock for me.
Look at it, man. Wait, right here.
Wee! There we go. I maintain this game is hard. You are absolutely right. This game is hard. And here I go. Whee! Whee! And I F that up again. I messed that all up. Come on, come on. Bouncy, bouncy. Up. Shoot the drone guy.
Are we really doing this? You're pulling raspberries at me now? Wait a second.
There's a Robin Sparkles 3.
Yeah. The show.
Oh, okay. Jesus. Down that hole I go. Easily the hardest stage in the entire game because of the BS they keep expecting you to do. Space seeds or something like that. A lot of beaver talk, yeah. Yeah, a lot of beaver talk. And I keep missing that freaking hook. All I have to do is get up there. Get through this platforming stage. The next part should be a lot easier. Screw long division. Oh man. Oh man. Whee! Oh, I made it. Yes. Okay, let's not F this up. Alright, come on, come on, come on, go! Run, 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 oh! Run, 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 oh! Shoot him! I should have used the potion. Alright.
Whee! Whee!
Okay, for real?
What?
What are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah.
Whee!
Clipped you making that first one without the death. Nice. Go ahead and share it, man. I enabled links. So you are welcome to share that link here.
Whee!
Bouncy. Jump. Jump. Jump.
Hi to Daddy while he plays this game.
He is. He's over here just hanging out. Okay. Whew. Up. Run, 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 jump! There's no jump.
No.
Song about the beavers. Oh god, get up there. Okay, never mind. Okay. Here we go. Bam. Done with this. Shoot that guy. Whew. Oh my god. Can't believe I made it to the boss. Holy crap, that boss has a lot of life. You see that crap? Whee! You've come very far, but you're not going anywhere from here. Bear do is now. Yeah, 3 shots. That's how it's supposed to be. I got the permit. I can drive. Yes. Woo! That's what I always wanted. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Okay. So that's good. Oh my god. So freaking terrifying. I spent, how many continues was that? Like 4? Jeebus. Okay. Now I got the permit. I have our communicator you want. There we go. And then I use the blue one for the next area. I don't need any of that. Jesus, it's a lot of drinking. Okay. Made it to the second half of the map. Oh man, this is where the game gets a little harder, but the platforming is nowhere near what it used to be. You know what? No. I want that neutral zone number 18. Plus, I want all these continues. There we go. Tons of continues. Here we go. Please instruct. I think I need the blue one for the next couple of stages. I'm Destroyer 1. Do you have any need of a machine gun? No.
Putting it outside.
Whee!
No more trash can for you. Gone.
I'm Destroyer 3. Do you have any need for a machine gun? Yes. Oh, yes. Someone asked me to tell you US is in town. Located between those mountains. Do you know what it means? Yeah, I missed a clue somewhere. But we got a new gun. It's kind of useless. Has anybody's ever actually played the original Metal Gear?
Lay down. You need to lay down.
The machine gun that Snake uses? Yeah, it's one of those. But on a side-scrolling game, so it's yeah. It's that terrible. Alright. Here, I'll show you real quick. Not that I could open this. Yeah, hold the button, nothing. Shoot it a couple times. Okay. And actually, I don't think I could open this, can I? Nope. Okay. So we're not going here yet. Let's try 8. And more continues. Okay, that's awful. It didn't even shoot up at a distant angle. Nope, not at all. And I don't think this is the stage I need to be on. Pretty sure this is another optional stage. Ugh. There we go. I think that did it. That did not do it. No? Okay. There's supposed to be a glitch where... Crap. Just use my healing item. It's supposed to be a glitch where when you get to that first door, as soon as you press up, you're supposed to hook into the ceiling as well, and then drop back down and walk back out the door you came in. It takes you straight to... It wrong warps you to the boss. It didn't work. I don't know exactly what the setup is. That guy's a little bit of a hassle because he dodges your attacks. I made it! Art can be useful in areas 7 and 9. Holy crap. Kind of scared. Okay, that was bad. That was very bad. Area 9 looks like the disposal area. Joe must have been taken there. Please hurry. Okay, so yeah, this was a correct, proper room to go to. Okay, I can do this. I just want a potion, guys. One of these times it'll give me a potion. Really need those hit points back. Yeah, I'm not. Normally these things don't respawn, but this one happens to. So we're going to keep exploiting it until it gives me a freaking potion. There it is. Full health. think you can destroy the main system? You have no chance. It's actually one of the more difficult platoon fights. There we go, 3 shots. It's because they got those guys with the shields. Those actually make a difference.
Which one trash can? Oh wow. Don't.
Good shot. Okay. I want to go to this neutral zone. Then I'm going to hit up 17. Well, I'm going to hit up 9 and then down to 17. I think, and you can quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure. There we go. I am maxed out on continues now. You can only hold 9. You can collect as many as you want, but you can only hold 9. Apparently at some point, I wasn't paying attention, but I think I got the boots. Yeah, I'll keep the blue one for a while. Look, shoot my gun out here all I want. As soon as I can pass that guy, do not pull the trigger. You are my 100th potion. I will take care of you. Ow. But they can attack me. Talk to me. You're not wanting to talk to me, you butt. Go ahead, shoot me. Whee! That was it? It's just a one-up in here. That was a complete waste of my time. I did not need to come here. Alright, please instruct. Descend. There we go. There we go. How many lives is that? 4, 5, Chivas. Oh, messed that up. Surprised this guy didn't get whiplash for how much I'm messing this up. Communication room! This is M2, we've captured the enemy. I want to know about the underground path, but I don't know where to start. Would you please come to Area 7? I'm working on it, buddy. I can't get through that freaking gate. They literally gated me out. Here we go. Ouch. Up, 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 up. Yeah, boss time. Your effort is wasted. We just transferred Joe to another location. The princess is in another castle? What? Ow, fudge. Oh, follow me with that. 3 shots. Good game, let me tell you. I've obtained a 3-way. Hey, honey, I just got a 3-way. Alright. It's a new gun. I'll show you guys what it does. Does this? Jam, 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 jam. We were waiting for you. Please come in. Oh, we've got a little boy now. Aww. Famicom system. If you hit this guy like 100 times. Ow. Whee! Okay, I'll talk. Underground paths run between areas 14 and 17, 15 and 18. There we go. Famicom disc system. This guy here, he's being held up by another dude standing behind him. And then you just grapple him in the nuts like 100 times. He'll give you extra weapons too. So anything you had missed at that point, that's basically the best place to get it. We've located Joe. He's at POW camp in Area 7. Please, hurry! Working on it, boss. Just gonna warp out of here. Oh, looky there. Okay, we'll move. Meet with enemies and descend. What up? Hey, look, a hidden area. See, this thing on this type of stage, oh yeah, that's a thing. This particular weapon, ooh, helmet. Nice. There we go. That particular type of stage, that weapon, complete garbage. And Area 4 up there, wherever, that way, I don't know. Area 4 is where the other weapon that I skipped was, and it was a spread shot, and it was very short range, like half the range of the machine gun. Here, I'm going to use one of these. See? Not particularly strong, it's just as strong as your regular gun, but it has a little bit of a spread to it. Shoots pretty quick. It's kind of fun to use sometimes. Now before I do this, there's another thing I gotta do. I gotta go through the secret tunnel here between 15 and 18. There's a whole nother item here I want. Nope. Rocket launcher. Yeah, I don't care. Nope. Not an item here. Okay. That wasn't it. Alright, I'm gonna do it again. Yep. That's fine. Maxed out on continues. I'm still gonna grab them though. Ow, why are you hitting me with that? There we go. Alright, descend. We use that. We're gonna switch to the helmet. That's gonna protect me from three bullets before it starts taking away my hit points now. And I think this is the last stage that the blue radio works on. This is the garbage disposal area. This is where they are keeping Super Joe. That's right. Come on. Oh my god. Come on. There we go. Run, 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 run. Up. 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 Oh no! Well, screwed up that part. Alright, gonna try this again. Okay. Yeah, I made it. Whew. Okay, fun times. So you finally come. Joe is here, but you're going to die. Can't do it. Come on. crap. Screwed that up. Come on. Yes! Got it! Woo! That started getting a little scary for a moment. Oh. Saved you, buddy. Take out an entire army and get captured. Your hair is freaking cool! Woo! That's, Mr. Joe, I've come to rescue you. Thank you. I'm sorry I caused so much trouble, Captain. Something terrible is going to happen. Remember, there was a plan in the bad secret documents about building a huge laser cannon. The Empire's trying to... The Empire's trying to accomplish what the Bads couldn't do. However, they cannot complete this project because a person with the key knowledge is dead. His name is Master D. To finish the project, Kilt is trying to resurrect him, but has been unable to do so. Captain, we must stop him before this project gets too big. I'm going to Area 12 now. Can you fight with me? I've given a special machine gun to a man called Destroyer 3 in Area 18. I already got it, thank you though. You should use that gun. I already got it, but thank you. Okay. Area 13. I don't see an Area 13. Oh wow, Area 13's way over there. Oh, Area 12. I don't want to do Area 12 yet. Is this the next one? Well, that was quick. Okay. There we go. Man, this platforming is brutal. Okay. I see what's going on. Oh! Ah! Run, 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 run. Oof. Holy crap. That's some intense shit. This is M8. We've built a newly developed bazooka. Please obtain it from a man named Hal. I think I already got that. Well, that is definitely not how I want to remember this. How many lives do I have left? 2? I think I just killed myself. Was I supposed to just swing out to there? I was. Hey, I made it on the platform. Ooh, okay. Nice. Okay, is this the way I go? I hope so, because... Yep, boss room. Dropping robots on me. Pee pee pee! We have found an intruder! You're going to attack! That's right. Bullets don't hurt. One shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Another stage down. Alright, what I get in here? We've obtained a 1-up! That replaces one of the, what, 3 lives I lost here? Jesus. Alright, so 10 was an optional. I'll have to remember that next time I play. 12 is where the goal is, apparently, so we're hitting up 11. Apparently, I'm gonna have to take on a convoy first. And there we go. Second to last stage, fellas. Please instruct. Well, obviously we're going here. This looks terrifying. Why does this remind me of Mega Man 2? What the hell is your problem? Oh. Communication room. Woo! These stages are so hard. I literally have only beaten this game once, and okay, I'm out. In front of area 12 now. Cannot enter unless you blow up areas 10 and 11. So please do it fast, Bazooka. Yeah, but don't worry about anything. Let me handle the rest. Well, okay, so I guess I did have to do number 10. And I'm in 11 now, so that's cool. Ow. Ow. Holy crap, okay. Oh, no, gotta do that a little further back. I will get it. How many lives I got left? One? Oof. Ooh, dude tried to box me. Oh, I made it! I died though. There's the boss room too. I was so good. So close. I was really gonna get it. You do it again. So it was a fluke that I was able to do that the first time. Okay. All right. This game is freaking hard. Oh, I made it. Yes. It's too early to feel safe. I'll kill you here. I mean, you won't. Your lasers almost killed me, but you absolutely will not. I got a bulletproof vest. Neat. Final stage, guys. We are about to beat Bionic Commando. Let's see how this works out. That's a turkey key. This is Super Joe. This area is divided by 2 barriers. In order to break the barriers, you should break the power system. Find the power system. It's a freaking maze is what it is. Alright, first things first. What's in here? Oh, this is gonna be fun. Oh, come on now. Oh. That's one. Man, that's a lot of damage I took already. Ah! This is Joe. I'm going to destroy the power source of the base. Defeat the leader and get out. Ah, screwed that up. How many lives do I got? Last one, okay. Get off of me! Alright, never mind. I can't force myself through the hole. I would like to. As terrible as that sounds. It's too early to feel safe. I'll kill you here. Whee! You're kidding. I died. Okay. Alright. Huge underground bunker. Gotta do the thing again. Let's try it again. Ugh, stop getting hit. Run, 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 run! Oof! Made it. Okay. Doing a little better this time. Does it take me all the way back up? Yeah, it does. Okay. Yeah, I don't need that. Come on. This is Joe. I'm going to destroy the power source of the base, defeat the leader, and get out. It's Joe. Super Joe's coming. It's me, number 5. They caught me. That's why I don't do the wiretap, by the way. They almost always catch me. It's just not worth it. Whee! Bouncy, bouncy. Oh, you're kidding. Alright, well. I think I need a different weapon. Oh! Ah, I found it. I just didn't go far enough. How many lives I got left? 1. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, the kid was here before. I never thought I'd see you here. But you're too late. The albatross has begun to move. Not necessary to wait for Master D to revive. I just cut off the switch. With the revival device, Master D will rise again. Now, it's your turn to die. What? I guess he got himself electrocuted. Yes, Franz. Ah, you woke me from a long sleep now. I have more use for you. No more use for you. Yes. I'll take over your army and rule the world. But you're going to fight against me, you damn fool. If that's what you want, I'll show you the horror of the albatross. Ow! Stop shooting me! Ah, sit up. Ooh! Oh! Well, I'm about to eat it on the last boss. Ugh, wrong way. And there I go. Oof. She's not doing it good enough. Yeah! There we go. And now I think I just have to escape. Or was that it? Nope. I still gotta escape. Oh, that was super Joe. He's just trying to take him off. Oh hell, Master D is leaving. It won't last long. Hey, take this bazooka. Go get him. There's Chopper down here. Aim at the cockpit as you jump. You can do it. Yeah! Ooh! Ooh, I hit it! Your number's up, monster! Duh! Oh, dude, that was brutal! Oh my god, that was awesome for 1988! His whole face exploded! Oh shit, I gotta get out of here? This base will explode in 60 seconds. Evacuate right away! You want to feel safe? I'll kill you here. Oh, fuck. No, I wasn't watching my health, and he messed me up. Oh, I gotta redo that whole thing, don't I? I do, son of a bitch. Alright. Damn. Oh, nice! I get to restart from here. Alright, let's do it. Yeah, the thing. Give me the bazooka, do the thing, jump, chopper, blah, blah, blah. Shoot guy, his face explodes. Whee! I missed. Whee! Oh my god, I can't skip the text. Oh my gosh. Fair enough. I'm running out of continues doing this, I bet. How much you want to bet if I leave to go get more continues, I'll have to redo that whole stage. Take the bazooka, go get him. There's Chopper down here. Aim at the cockpit. You can do it! Whee! Blam! Blew his ass up. That's still just so brutal for 1988. That's some crazy shit. Right, give me 1 second before this next section starts. Okay. Well, I am most likely not surviving this. Oh my god. Oh god. Oh! I made it for a second. Oh my god. Watch, look. 0 seconds left. Is Shu still inside? What happened to the captain? We can't wait any longer. We're going to escape now. Please, just a little longer. Hey, what's that? What? I drop on controller. Holy crap, we beat Bionic Commando. That is my second time. I think I used to own this in like 92 or 93. It's real fuzzy way back then. That was awesome. This is loud. Our mission is accomplished. We're safe. We're returning now. Freaking A, dude. So, that's Bionic Commando. Battle has ended, and we have a new hero now. I was feeling different as I received the blessing from comrades. Terrible translation, apparently. That was a lot of typing for 5 letters. So yeah, that was Bionic Commando. That was pretty rough. I'll have to find another platformer. I didn't actually expect to do this in one sitting, let alone do it in... How long have I been doing it? 2.5 hours. 2 hours, 24 minutes. That's like 12 minutes of my freaking starting time also. So that was cool. It's definitely a fun ride. Mr. FF. Now, so much time has elapsed, and I'm old now. I think it's time for me to tell you the whole story. I hope this story will be told for a long time. You know what? Go to 8/2/2010. Hey, this happened 12 years ago, apparently. Who knows what happened 12 years ago?